Hey guys, Nintendo Studios here, and welcome to the second episode of Wii Month. Today, we're going to be looking at the 2010 Wii game, Kirby's Epic Yarn, and no, we're not going to be taking a look at the 3DS version. We're taking a look specifically at the Wii version, so I guess we may as well start into it, and let's start with the presentation, which I think has definitely got to be one of the biggest pluses about the game. Essentially, this is not your everyday Kirby game, as everything is made out of yarn, and I will be honest, it looks really good for the Wii. It still, to this day, looks pretty appealing. But that's pretty much that. Everything is made out of arts and crafts, so think of like a Yoshi game or something like that. In fact, Yoshi's Woolly World was based off of this game. And overall, it looks really good, but the game doesn't necessarily play like a normal Kirby game, as you cannot inhale. However, we'll get to that part once we get to the gameplay part. Yeah. But overall, the presentation for this game is just great, and it's got to be one of the best things about the game. It's just so pleasant to look at. It looks way too good. And next, we'll get into the story, and the story isn't really the biggest thing ever. Essentially, this yin yarn thing essentially starts wreaking havoc in Dreamland, and essentially, Kirby eats one of those like Metamato things, you know, those things from like Smash Brothers and stuff that like heal you. Essentially, he accidentally eats one of them and essentially gets sent into Patchland, where he meets up with Prince Fluff. Well, saves Prince Fluff from a monster. They then try and patch together Patchland, see what I did there? Back to its original version in order to get all of the patches of land together, and to potentially get back to Dreamland and stop Yin Yarn. Honestly, not really much story. It's fine. But it's not really, the game isn't really meant for story. What about the gameplay? You know, the stuff that actually matters. The gameplay in this game is just pure fun. Now, like I said before, this is not your traditional Kirby game. You cannot inhale in this game. Instead, you kind of do this yarn thing. Essentially, pressing 1 on the Wii remote essentially allows you to, like, reach out in front of you. Kind of like a whip, I guess you could say. So essentially it's like you have a whip ability, and you can essentially tie stuff up, roll it into balls, and throw it at others. Yeah, it's different, alright. But it doesn't feel really that bad, and it doesn't feel unnatural. It actually feels pretty good. Another thing that Kirby has lost is his ability to puff up his body like a balloon. He can turn into a parachute, but he cannot inhale like the air itself and like float around, so you won't be able to do that. And the gameplay is just great, but it wouldn't be that great if the game didn't have good controls, right? Well, the game has amazing controls. I mean, do I really need to say it right now? This game controls perfectly. What else could I say? So there's that, and then what about the game soundtrack? The soundtrack in this game is really good. It's not like a normal Kirby soundtrack. Like most Kirby soundtracks have like kind of an upbeat sort of personality. This game has a much more calm soundtrack and more relaxing, and that's kind of the reason, because I mean it makes sense, because this game is technically designed to make you feel relaxed. And I think they did it very well. You can't hear it in this video, but the soundtrack is so good. I'd highly recommend checking it out. And then lastly, we'll get into the game's content. Now, this game is only around 7 worlds long, which wouldn't, and every single world has around 6 levels or so and a boss stage. And while that doesn't sound like a lot of game, keep in mind this was a game released in 2010 for the Wii, so there is that. But the biggest thing about this game is exploration. There is so much to find. Essentially, you'll find a lot of this furniture stuff scattered throughout the levels, and you can essentially use this in various apartments. See, I don't really understand it myself, but essentially there's like this apartment complex sort of thing. One of the rooms is actually your own apartment, and you can actually place the furniture you find throughout the game in there to kind of create your own mini apartment. There's no reason for it, but it's a little nice thing to do. But what's even more cool is that there's other apartment complexes with other characters, and essentially once you get the right furniture and place them in the right places, you will then be able to actually play several mini games. See, remember in Kirby games, they have like those mini games and stuff like that? Well, this is basically this game's version of it. And honestly, it's not bad because they changed the game up. Now, yes, they are technically just the same thing as like normal levels, but they kind of put a bit of a spin on them. Like maybe you have to beat the stage in a certain amount of time, or maybe you have to collect a certain amount of jewels, or maybe you have to carry this thing or whatever it is to the goal. They always change it up, and it actually is really fun and kind of fun to figure out how exactly to like tackle these missions. And overall, I think this game has so much content. I mean, this game, you can beat it in around like, I'd say 5 hours or so. Unlike if you were to beat the game like nothing else. But this game is so, like, there's so much content to this game, I can't even say much about it. It's completely good. Finally, the final thoughts. Personally, this has got to be one of my favorite Kirby games. I know that some people may not have liked this as compared to like normal Kirby as, hey, it's not as upbeat, but I feel like that's not the worst thing ever. I feel like this game wasn't designed that way. It feels like the game was made just for the sole purpose of calming you down after a rough day of work or something. It just makes you feel good. It's a game you can just go through and just not really have too much difficulty beating. Because, yeah, the game's super easy. Heck, there ain't even a live counter. Well, at least in the Wii version. And overall, it's a pretty good Kirby game. I would definitely recommend giving it a shot, or if you don't really have a Wii, but you do have a 3DS and you wouldn't mind checking out the 3DS version. I haven't played the 3DS version, but I'd say give it a shot. I think the 3DS version would be pretty good. Again, I haven't played the 3DS version, I only played the Wii version, but give it a chance someday. Like, just give it a shot. It's a game for everyone. I give Kirby's Epic Yarn an 8.5 out of 10. Well, yes, I did praise this game a lot. It still isn't exactly the best thing ever. So yeah. And also, I actually made a playthrough of this game way back in the day of the dinosaurs, so if you want to check that out, I'll just put my playthroughs playlist as an end card. But that's pretty much it. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you guys want to see more Wii month and stuff like that. Okay, it's gonna keep happening. And also a little update on some stuff about the next DLC mod. I know I was gonna post it today, but I am going to have to delay it probably until next weekend, possibly. Maybe I can try and get it out sometime during this week. I do not want to rush it because it is going to be a great treat for you guys. So I don't want to ruin it by rushing it. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Take care.
It's showtime! Did you enjoy the show? Well, time for the highlight.